Hey everyone, welcome back to the Planetsmith devlog. In the last episode, I put the entire game on a diet, stripping out memory bloat, tightening the core systems, and getting everything running smoother. But in the process, we completely broke our old world generation system. Honestly, that's fine, because it needed replacing anyway. Even though it looked okay, it had some deep flaws. All the biome data was hard-coded and it couldn't handle things like overhangs or caves. Today, we're going to fix that. We're taking the simple noise height map from last time and evolving it into fully featured terrain with caves, overhangs, arches, and all these features will be completely controllable, so we can tie terrain features to biomes, something that wasn't possible before. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, I have a very important and exciting announcement. We are holding a Kickstarter for Planetsmith in March next year. Those who have been watching for a while will know we have come a long way over the past 3 years of development, but I believe now is a great time to raise some extra funds to turbocharge our production so we can have the best release possible. This will let us get more features into the game, like space travel and multiplayer, before our early access launch. I also want to reward everyone who's been following our journey so far, so linked on screen now or in the description is an email sign-up link. If you sign up with the $1 reservation, you will get an extra exclusive in-game axe skin when you back the game on our Kickstarter at any level, and access to our VIP club on Discord right now. It's just a small way we can thank our early supporters. So, before we start building anything new, let's talk about the problem we were facing. Our old terrain system was way too simple. It was based entirely on a 2D noise height map, which is great for rolling hills, but completely incapable of generating caves, overhangs, or anything more interesting than bumps on a surface. We could switch to full 3D noise, but generating that at the scale Planetsmith needs would be insanely expensive, way too slow, and definitely not something we could run in real time. So that left us with a big question. How do we get complex, interesting terrain without paying the price for true 3D generation? Before tackling that, I set a few design goals for the new world generation system. First, we absolutely need caves and overhangs. It also has to be extremely flexible so we can build lots of unique planets and biome types. Nothing should be hard-coded. All the data needs to come from data files, so artists can easily make changes and we can release the system to modders in the future. It has to be highly performant, even at massive scales. Biomes shouldn't just change the blocks placed, they should influence the terrain's shape. We need an editor tool that makes building biomes intuitive and fun, and of course, the whole system has to stay fully deterministic and be tied to a seed. On paper, that's a pretty demanding list, but with the right structure, all of it is possible. So let's get back onto that big question. How do we get complex, interesting terrain without paying the price for full 3D generation? With 2D generation, we only need one calculation for every X and Y coordinate. But if we were to expand this to a 3D calculation and do one calculation for every Z coordinate, this would make calculations 512 times more expensive. But It's also impossible to get overhangs and arches without vertical Z calculations. We need some sort of compromise. Instead of generating the entire world in 3D, we could start with a 2D height map to get a rough surface height. So my first step is to get the old height map style generation working. Now, this doesn't look quite right. I'm trying to get some nice rolling hills working, but instead we're getting these huge steps everywhere. My guess, somewhere in the code, we're rounding to the nearest chunk. With that fixed, things look a lot better, but now I'm noticing something weird happening in the water. Those steps are still showing up. I think this is happening because of the new chunk skipping system. When no terrain is generated inside a chunk, it's skipped. Those water chunks that were being skipped contained no terrain. However, they should have been filled with water. Once I fixed the ocean bug, I started experimenting with mountains, and honestly, this looks great. I could explore this for hours, even though it's still missing the more complex features. Putting everything together, we get this. It should be the same as our previous 2D world gen, with mountains, hills, oceans, and flat plains. But that doesn't look quite right. I'm not sure what's going on, but it doesn't look good. Take 2. The issue turned out to be the chunk recycling logic. If a skipped chunk got recycled, it would be moved to its new position without clearing the old mesh, which caused those awful visual glitches. Now that's resolved, performance looks really solid. The world is generating quickly, but right now this is still just the old 2D world gen. We need to layer the new 3D features on top. The plan is to calculate 3D noise only in a band around the 2D height map, about 20 blocks below and 20 above. That way we only spend extra computation where it actually matters, near the surface where overhangs and arches form. There's one more trick, weighing the lower Z values to be more likely to be solid, and the higher values to be more likely air. That keeps the terrain connected and helps avoid floating blobs, at least most of the time. We can also tweak how deep this 3D band goes. A shallow band gives us smoother terrain, rolling hills or flat plains, while a deeper band allows for more dramatic overhangs and complex shapes. With this approach, we get the benefits of 3D features like arches and overhangs without paying the cost of full 3D generation everywhere. Terrain stays fast, but far more dynamic and believable. And here it is. This is extreme, but we've definitely got overhangs and arches now. It might be a bit too dramatic for Earth-like world generation, but it's already given me a ton of ideas for alien biomes. In survival mode, this would be incredibly hard to navigate, but also fun to explore. Cranking up the noise scale gives us this. What's cool is that all of this is completely controllable now. We can change the strength, scale, and frequency per world or per biome, which gives us endless possibilities when it comes to shaping different planets. These large-scale formations look epic, probably too intense for most Earth-style terrain, but absolutely perfect for more exotic biomes. We could even use this system to sculpt dramatic coastlines, huge eroded cliffs that look like they've been carved away by the ocean, with sheer drops plunging straight into the sea. There's so much potential here. Turning it down a bit results in this, which I am loving the look of. We get those features we talked about, but it's not over the top. This line you see here isn't a glitch. I left the edge chunk generated using just the 2D noise. That way, I can visualize the difference with the 3D noise. I'm happy with the terrain now, but we still don't have caves. Caves are a bit trickier than overhangs. The 3D surface focus trick we used before doesn't work here, because caves can form over a much larger height range. And simply doing a small 3D layer around the surface would only create blobs near the surface, not the continuous tunnels and networks we want. Instead, we use a clever 2D approach. First, we generate where the caves will appear in 2D. Here, you can see that visualized. I have made it so caves replace all blocks in their 2D position with air. Next, we calculate their depth along the z-axis. This gives us continuous caves that vary naturally in depth, creating tunnels that feel like they could exist in a real underground system. To make things more interesting, we repeat this process a few times. Each pass adds more cave networks, increasing how intertwined they are. This also gives us a lot of flexibility. We can tweak it to make some areas more dense with caves and others relatively empty. Finally, we add an extra calculation to create caverns or chambers, rather than just long tunnels. This generates large open spaces for players to explore, adding variety and a sense of scale to the underground. Here you can see a complete cave network. I have inverted the world so caverns are solid and rock is air. It's like I have made a cast from an ant's nest. It's cool to see networks converging, and I'm looking forward to exploring these when we add more features. You might be wondering why the world has been made entirely out of rock up to this point. Where are the biomes? Well, biome blocks are painted on after the terrain is generated, so let's take a look at that now. For testing, I've temporarily hard-coded some simple grass and dirt layers. The only real challenge was making sure grass still appears underneath overhangs, but not inside caves. It's still a very basic setup, but it shows that everything is working, and even this small change adds a surprising amount of depth to the world. My next task is to bring proper biomes back, but like I said at the start, I don't want any of that to be hard-coded. I'm designing a new data format that will make creating and customizing planets incredibly easy, and I'll be showing the whole system in the next devlog. So make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss it. Trust me, it's going to be a good one. Also, don't forget to make your Kickstarter reservation to secure your exclusive skin if you haven't already. And as always, a huge shout out to our YouTube members who help make these videos possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.